Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Rick Walker. Welcome back to Maverick News. Great to have you all here, Maverick family and new viewers. Sorry I wasn't here last night. Had to take care of some things which have been taken care of, and I'm back in the chair, ready to bring you today's top news stories, and we have a lot to talk about. Massive drone strikes on both sides in the Ukraine-Russia conflict. And a lot of propaganda flying around as well. We'll try to get you the most accurate information that we can here tonight. Also, massive protests in Israel following the execution of 6 hostages by Hamas. Somehow, Netanyahu is getting all the blame for the execution of 6 hostages by Hamas. So we'll bring you up to date on that. Also tonight, craziness on the streets in Ottawa, confrontations because of protests, and Gold Star families come to Donald Trump's defense. All that and a whole lot more coming up right here on the Maverick News Channel. Stay with me.
He's a fighter. He's a survivor. President Trump, defiant, strong. He is determined to make America great again. Pay tribute to the 45th President of the United States with this collectible t-shirt from the Maverick News Memorable Moments collection. Even a would-be assassin's bullet could not stop him. Instead, he emerged with his fist in the air ready to fight. For freedom. Get your Trump Fighting for Freedom t-shirt with any donation of $30 or more to Maverick News. There are 2 iconic artistic designs to choose from. But there is only one way to get these. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Support free speech. Free media. Support Maverick News. Call 1-866-248-1490 or order online at supergeeks.tv.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching. The world is watching. On TV, the entire world is watching. On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
Okay, so over the past 48 hours, there have been significant drone activities involving Ukraine and Russia. Drone attacks on Russia, first off. significant. Ukraine launched what is being described tonight as one of the largest drone swarm attacks against Russia, targeting 15 different regions, including Moscow. These attacks hit various targets like energy infrastructure, with specific mentions of a thermal power plant in the Tver Oblast, another in Moscow Oblast, and an oil refinery in Moscow where fires were reported. This operation was possibly aimed at diverting Russian attention or resources, suggesting a strategic move by Ukraine, potentially to facilitate troop movements or other military objectives. The Russian Defense Ministry reported that over 150 Ukrainian drones were involved in these attacks. And while some were shot down, the effectiveness of Russian air defenses in civilian areas is being questioned tonight, especially after incidents where air defense actions caused collateral damage. Putin has a problem. Here's some footage of an oil refinery being hit by a Ukrainian drone. It makes you wonder about their air defense systems. You can hear gunfire, or it sounds like gunfire. This is what they're using, I guess, to try to shoot the drone down. This makes some wonder, including me, what kind of air defenses they... That sounds almost like small arms fire. Not the kind of countermeasures that would normally be taken against a drone. I don't know. You can see now, first the smoke and then the sound. So far away, but you can see that it was a hit. So even though Russia, many sources inside Russia reporting that essentially the majority or even all the drones were shot down, no, some of those drones did get through. Some of those drones did hit the target. Here's another angle.
Нихуя не сбили, шмаляют по нему. Сейчас, блядь, туда же, походу, ебет.
A little bit tighter.
Да, хуять.
It's hard to see it, but the drone is there. You can see it's just a speck.
Его падает. Пошел. На нахуй.
And there, hit.
Уебало. Ебать. Пиздец, нахуй. Газ загорелась, да?
So anyway, you slice it. I would say the Ukrainian attack was somewhat successful. These drone strikes indicate Ukraine's growing capability to strike inside Russian territory, potentially aiming to disrupt Russian infrastructure or to retaliate against Russian actions in Ukraine. The scale and coordination of the drone attacks suggests an escalation in the use of drones as a significant component of Ukraine's military strategy, possibly aiming to affect Russian public opinion or to pressure Russian military and political leadership. So the reaction online, public reaction, media reaction, it all reflects a mix of, I guess, awe at the scale of the Ukrainian drone operations and criticism of Russian air defenses. There's also an underlying narrative of tit for tat here, where Ukraine's actions might be seen as a response to Russian strikes on Ukrainian infrastructure. And there was also a significant event involving a sports facility in Kharkiv, Ukraine, which was targeted by Russian forces. So a missile strike hit the Sports Palace in Kharkiv, according to various reports. This facility was not just a sports center, but also served as a deployment point for the Ukrainian armed forces, which might explain why it was targeted. The attack was described as involving multiple hits, with some sources mentioning the sports center was struck 4 times. And this suggests a deliberate and focused attack rather than collateral damage. We have some images to share with you here tonight. This is what it looked like at the sports complex following the Russian missile hitting that facility. So serving multiple uses. The strike has been highlighted in quite a few online social media posts, some expressing sorrow over the destruction of a sports facility, questioning the involvement of sports in political conflicts. That's what some people are talking about online. There's also mention of the Ukrainian side possibly using this kind of facility for military purposes, I guess because of its size and the kind of open facility that it was. You could understand why they need a large auditorium, gymnasium, someplace to assemble quite a number of people, possibly. I don't know. There's also mention of the of this, why it was targeted from a military perspective. But of course, it also raises questions about the humanitarian side of this. And so this also marks what appears to be an escalation in the conflict overall, and also highlights the tragedy of civilians on both sides in the conflict, suffering and even being killed. And this is a cropped photo. This is a young girl who was decapitated in Kharkiv by shrapnel. And we have a guest joining us. He's in the back room. Let's bring in, I think he's there. Might be ready to come in. Mike Pierre is coming in. I invited Mike to come on to highlight some of this information tonight. So excited to have him back, if even for a brief comment tonight, to explain in more detail what we have just been talking about here, because this is this drone attack very significant, and it marks again a change and a shift in the entire conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Let's see if we can bring Mike in here. Are you there, Mike? I think his internet is spinning around. We'll have to wait for him to reconnect. Yeah, we lost him because of the internet, but he'll be back momentarily. I'll tell you what, let's take a very brief break. We'll come back on the other side, and hopefully Mike is able to reestablish his connection.
Maverick News. The world is watching. Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, so I'm just looking in the chat here over on Rumble. Not unexpected to see some of the comments tonight. And I was waiting for Johnny's reaction. Why does Rick favor Ukraine now? Why do you favor Russia? Why do you want Russia to win? Johnny, why? And, I'm just presenting the information. If your head blows up, I can't help it. You planted the grenade in there yourself. Okay? You just can't handle the truth, I guess. The facts are the facts. The drones hit. What do you want me to do? Censor it like a communist? Let's bring Mike Pierre in. There you are. Can you hear me? Oh, we've got to echo.
Yeah, give me 2 seconds.
Sure, hang on. Okay. I can't help it, Johnny. Ukraine struck inside Russia, and it's just happened. It's the facts. Can't help it if you don't. What's that? Russia producing rockets like crazy. He don't talk about that. I guess I just did. I just let you say it. You're in the chat. You're talking about it. I'm not censoring anybody. Mind if we have an analysis? What's that tomorrow, Dragons? Have an analysis tomorrow, Rick? I got some perspectives for you. Well, probably, maybe, sure, whatever. I don't know. Analysis about what, Dragon? Johnny, because Russia, right, they don't want NATO rockets pointing in their backyard. You know what, John? I've been thinking a lot about why Russia has been doing what they've been doing. And I've got a little bit of a different perspective I'm going to share with you. But first, let's get Mike in here and see if we've got good audio now and a good connection.
Yeah, I had to switch the audio to the, I've got a PreSonus audio connector that I had to switch to.
Sure, no problem. It sounds good now. I think we're good. Let me just check the chat. Everybody, can you hear everybody okay? If we have any issues, let me know in the chat, okay? And we'll make adjustments.
I can always bring the microphone closer, too.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. That's way better. Yeah. Okay.
I do have limited time tonight, sorry.
Sure, no problem.
One of the things that I do is I ship gear to soldiers I know. There's about a half dozen, depending on the day, sometimes more than that, units that I help, Ukrainian units that I help on the front line. Mm-hmm. From where I am, obviously, I can't ship weapons. So everything that I do is non-lethal. So decent pair of boots, pair of pants. That's pretty much what I'm doing. It's fellow veterans usually have stuff in their attic, stuff that they wore back in the day, or stuff that it's an older uniform pattern that's no longer okay to wear. You're no longer authorized to wear it on duty. Or just stuff that they had from a previous deployment they're never going to use again. So I have a bunch of that kind of stuff.
Are you responding to somebody's question in the chat?
No, I was explaining why I have limited time because
okay.
I have to go meet one of my couriers here soon.
I see. Okay. Well, let's get your assessment on this massive drone attack into Russia. Was it successful in your view? And what do you have to back up what you're going to say?
Well, any attack of Ukraine into Russia that hits anything would be by definition a success. They have been systematically going after airfields and oil facilities inside of Russia, geez, for a solid 12 months at this point, maybe longer, but it's in that time frame, give or take 2 or 3 months.
Right. So 150 drones, I guess most of them were shot down, no question about that. But there's also no question that some of these did hit targets. The most significant appears to be that oil refinery. That is significant. And that's near Moscow, correct?
Yes, there were several hits in Moscow. But the one video that I believe that you have is so Russia often claims we shot down all of the drones. So here, this is from a Russian source, probably a civilian. You can hear weapons going off. People are shooting at something. The audio is not great. From my experience, I'm definitely hearing AKs, but it's possible there's something as big as a Dishka machine gun, but nothing bigger than that.
Yeah,
So-
and this calls into question how robust Russia's air defense systems are or aren't.
And pretty soon here, Russia said they intercepted all the drones, and well, technically they used an oil refinery to intercept this drone. It's a very clever use of an oil refinery.
Using oil refineries as a shield. It's quite clear that this was hit, and this is making the rounds on social media. It's confirmed, like this is real. So it's not like fake, which of course some people might instantly question. What does this mean, do you think, Mike, in terms of the way this war is going?
So it's always hard to say which side that. So I'm obviously I support Ukraine. You can tell.
Yeah.
But in an honest assessment, Ukraine is struggling. However, they are using some very creative minds inside their country. Ukraine has some solid engineers going on in there. They developed the Neptune missile that sank the Moskva cruiser. That's an anti-ship cruise missile. It's also the same type of weapon they used to sink the Kerch ferry in the last couple of days. I don't know how many people know this, but one of the major Soviet aircraft industries, the Antonov company, is in Ukraine. It's Ukrainian now. But there was a whole bunch of big Soviet-era cargo planes that Antonov built. Kharkiv was one of the major Soviet tank factories. Mykolaiv was the major Soviet naval construction port. So the Moskva was actually built in Mykolaiv, Ukraine. And so is their basket case of a aircraft carrier, the Admiral Kuznetsov. So there's serious industry and smart people inside Ukraine. What they've done is they've constructed one-way attack drones. They might or might not be more sophisticated than the Shaheeds that Russia at first bought from Iran and then started to license build inside of Russia. But it's the Iranian Shaheed design. Recently, I don't have my notes in front of me, but recently Ukraine came up with a one-way jet-powered attack drone. And one of the things that Ukraine is doing that apparently Russia is not, although as we've seen on this war, Russia does have the ability to adapt, is some of these drones, Ukrainian drones attacking Russia, are actually FPV. They're first-person video controlled. So that has a Ukrainian human being in the loop aiming the machine. And that's a real thing because those Shaheeds that Russia is using are incredibly primitive. It's basically a lawnmower engine and Dead Reckoning guidance. If you know anything about Dead Reckoning guidance, that's basically what the Germans used in their V1. The very primitive jet-powered missile that it had the wings, and there's these pictures, a Spitfire would go up and tip the thing over. But those were Dead Reckoning. There was incredibly primitive guidance on those things. That's basically what the Shaheeds are. They're effective because they can carry an explosive payload. So if they hit something, then they're going to do some damage. So in terms of how things are going, Ukraine, who everybody was saying was going to get rolled over in like 3 days or a week, 2.5 years, they're still fighting back. And now they are striking targets. I think their longest range target that I've seen was 2,000 miles inside of Russia. Moscow is not that far. It's between 400 and 600 kilometers. And I'd have to look at a map to get you an exact distance on this one shot, but it's roughly in that range. If this is the refinery, there are 2 refineries that were hit. One was southeast Moscow, more or less inside the city limits. And the other one was a solid 30, 35 kilometers northwest of Moscow. That was a bit further. And I'd have to look at my notes on which one this is. But you can do your own judgment. Ukraine is conducting airstrikes inside of Russia. Ukraine is the first military to put combat troops into an invasion onto Russian soil since World War II. And Russia is having some issues. They are scraping the bottom of the barrel on their ability to send in troops without causing civil unrest. The smallest Russian demographic, because they, like many nations, have a demographic problem, post-baby boom. There was all sorts of people born, but now they're starting to age out. And then they had fewer babies than that gigantic baby boom that we had post-World War II. Russia is one of the most severe nations that have this demographic crisis, where their smallest demographic is military-aged men. But this same demographic is the prime demographic for factory jobs, or for police people, or for high-skilled engineering jobs. There's all sorts of jobs that this is a prime demographic for. And so it depends on how you count the demographic. If you're talking about 18 to 27, which is normally military conscription in Russia, then they had fewer than 7 million in January of 22. About 1 million of them fled the nation. They said, I don't want to fight in Ukraine, so they went away. And then how far can Russia scrape? They've got 500 to 6,000 troops in or on the border of Ukraine right now. And they had 1 million flee. At some point, they're not going to be able to coherently fight. So who's winning? I think right now it's kind of a stalemate. And that is a bit shocking, because Russia had, at the start of this, had 144 million people. And at the start of this, Ukraine had 44 million people. Russia is running out of men. It's running out of equipment. It's getting daily airstrikes inside of Ukraine. One of the shocking details from the Kursk offensive is the Russians were taken so flat-footed and their defenses were just so not coherent that Ukraine is conducting airstrikes from MiG-29s, possibly Su-27s, but the video I saw was a MiG-29 dropping an American small-diameter bomb. That's a glide bomb that reaches out 20 to 40 miles, depending on altitude. If you're launching it at a low altitude, it's not going to go that far. But Ukraine is able to fly its jets and conduct airstrikes inside of Kursk, which means that the Russian air defenses are just incompetent or not there. They're absent. So, yeah, Russia has a lot of those, I mentioned, high demand, low supply assets, and Ukraine's been systematically taking out their air defense assets, especially in Crimea, but not just. ATACMS and HIMARS are just brutalizing Russian air defenses. And that's a real accomplishment. And it's set the stage for what we're seeing in Kursk now, and for the attacks on Moscow. Vladimir Putin, him of the very large table, you're going to sit at the very end of this large table. I don't know if you remember those pictures. Putin's at one end and the person he's talking to is like 30 feet away. He evidently diverted 5 to 6 Panzer and 1 S-300 system. Panzer is a mobile vehicle-based system, more sophisticated than the German Gepards, but in a similar class. It has a better radar than the Gepards, although that might be debatable, and but it has missiles where the Gepard's only a gun. The Panzers are both gun and missile. He diverted 6 of those and an S-300 to defend his house. Not Moscow, his house. So in terms of how this is going and how the different leaders are leading, I'd say Ukraine has the edge, but that's a hard opinion, and I would understand someone saying that Ukraine's struggling, because it is, and I'm not going to downplay that.
Yeah, absolutely. But anyway, you slice it, this kind of activity inside Russia, this is a problem for Putin, because this will test the resolve of the Russian people. How much support is there for this special military operation within Russia? You start blowing things up inside Russia, and I think that's going to have a serious impact on public opinion.
It can. The problem is that at the outset of this, Russia made it illegal to speak out against the war, which makes understanding the Russian civilian sentiment difficult. Mm-hmm. And Russia also has blocked any IP address or news outlets that are not domestic to Russia. And then it also nationalized all of the Russian journalistic outlets. So any news inside of Russia is from a Russian source controlled by the Russian government. And any news that they get from elsewhere, they have to be kind of sneaky to get. So somebody has to be at least a little bit tech savvy and willing to risk going to a website that's not controlled by the Kremlin, or a news source if it's not a website. We're seeing some of this on Russian Telegram that might or might not be a clue. There are indications that there are Russian sabotage events, shall we say, going on throughout the nation. Russian draft offices have been firebombed, things like that. There was one major tunnel that's the big railroad tunnel that ran from China into Russia that was blown up about a year ago, completely collapsed, and that was not claimed by Ukraine. That would be kind of a rough one for Ukraine to have pulled off back then. Possible, but still rough, because that part of Russia is... it's possible because that part of Russia is just not very heavily inhabited. So getting a sabotage team over there might not be as difficult as the distance might suggest. But it's, in my view, more likely that Russians themselves collapsed that tunnel. Just because at that point Ukraine was struggling, and that probably wasn't on their list of targets to go after.
So that's sorry. Can I ask you about that sports complex?
Oh yeah,
a bunch of different reports coming out about it. Were they using that to assemble or house military assets of any kind, or troops, or what was the story with that?
They were not using it to house troops. Ukraine has things that they use for troops, but they're not. They need their cities and their population to actually have that, if that makes sense. The civilians still need to have access to things like that, and it's not a good idea. For any number of reasons. One, you would make it a target, but for two, it's just not an efficient place to assemble troops. It's in the middle of a city. It would be difficult to get in and out of with big trucks. In the middle of a city, what are you going to do with all those troops? Can the city support all those troops? It doesn't make any sense. If I was a planner, that would be kind of a last resort. So if I was, so maybe some of the cities or villages on the front lines that have been deserted, you're going to use the buildings or what makes sense on the front line. This is a picture from rescue Ukrainian rescue civilians going into the rubble trying to find people. That's one of the people they found. There is, given Russia's other targeting of apartment buildings and playgrounds, and this is the swimming pool, if you can recognize it. I don't know why Ukraine would be using that for anything military. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's inconvenient. It's inefficient. Yeah. It just doesn't make any sense.
So these reports suggesting that it was being used for some sort of military purpose, possibly propaganda.
I would bet that way first, unless I see some serious evidence to the contrary. Because like I said, it doesn't make sense. So to convince me this was being used for military purposes, the whole Occam's razor thing, absent further evidence, the simplest explanation is the accurate one.
Right.
And so that the simplest explanation is that this is a civilian facility. And like I said, it would be awkward and inefficient and just doesn't make sense to be using as a military facility.
And do we know what it was that hit this facility? Was it a drone, a missile?
That I haven't read on. Sorry. You might have better info than I do on that one.
Okay. So, yeah, big development. This is significant, and it's an extension, really, of what has been going on in Kursk.
You didn't by chance talk about the 14-year-old girl, did you? That one kind of broke my heart.
Yeah, I mentioned it very briefly, and this is the cropped photo.
Yeah, this is the less graphic photo, although what's underneath that bench is still fairly graphic when you start thinking about that.
Yeah. Decapitated by shrapnel.
Yes. In an attack on a playground that was also tied to an attack on an apartment building. 14-year-old girl.
Mike, thank you for stopping by tonight. Is there anything else you'd like to add, or
no?
Missing tonight?
My courier actually just contacted me, so I actually kind of have to go.
Yeah, I understand.
Just as this is a little bit brighter than a 14-year-old girl, but a gentleman that I met all the way back in 2017. Because some people don't realize that Ukraine and Russia have been fighting since 2014. He was a regular soldier in 2017 when I met him. I actually met him in Kharkiv, now that I think about it. He handed me his shoulder epaulets, and we talked a little bit, and I still have those epaulets somewhere, not close enough by to show him. But he became a Ukrainian Special Forces operator in the post-2022 invasion. And he is currently serving as an instructor. And it was his wish expressed to me that he wanted an American drill instructor hat like he had seen in the movies. And he was just, talking like people do. But guess who knows a lot of former drill instructors and sent out the word saying, hey, anybody got a spare hat they're willing to give. And so the hat reached him in, I'd like to say, June, and I am going to pick up from this courier who's on his way back a gift from that drill instructor. I think it's a unit patch that I'll send to the former American, now retired drill instructor that donated the hat. So it's a little bit more of a bright story. So,
right.
Of all the weird things that I have sent to the Ukrainian soldiers, a drill instructor hat was not on my bingo card. So,
well, we will let you get to the courier.
All right. Thanks, sir.
Sounds like an important task. Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Appreciate your time. Mike Pierre, helping provide a broader perspective, and I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm just looking in the chat here. And, since Mike's last appearance on the program, and the one tonight too, you go ahead. I mean, war is a very divisive thing. It's emotional. I try to present all sides of stories to get people closer to the truth, which is my job. I've been attacked over the last couple of days simply for having Mike on. And, I was attacked before for having other people on the other side. I've been attacked on the other side too. Go ahead and attack all you want. But Mike is welcome here, and he has a voice here. Kevin has a voice here. And at times I have a voice, and you guys all have a voice too. And that is what this platform is all about. It's about, in some respects, being a bridge of communication, keeping the lines of communication open and trying to cut through the propaganda in this fog of war to present information in as full a way as possible, to provide the best perspectives, the fullest perspectives, the fullest context, so you can make up your own minds on where you stand on issues. That's what we're doing here. Now, just because I bring somebody on the program, if you don't like it, I can't help it. That's your problem. But I will facilitate respectful discussion on this platform. I have to say that, as I look at Johnny too, a big part of the problem, John, in my view, is when you go to war like this, as we are right now, a lot of information is distorted because both sides use propaganda. And in order to convince people of something, they deliver marketing messages that are dumbed down, simplified, easy sales pitches, simplified storylines. When I was in journalism school, I was taught that the average reading level out there is about grade 6, and that's true. So as a result, when you're writing news for broadcast or news for print even, you try to use simplified language so that the broadest possible audience can understand what it is you're trying to convey. Also, in broadcast and even online, you kind of get one shot to explain yourself. So you use simplified language and simplified storylines. And in some cases, to convince people to take action or to support your position, sometimes people lie. Now, not so much journalists, real journalists, but political operatives do, and propagandists do, and political activists do, and people who claim to be journalists but really have another agenda often lie to get people to support their position. Politicians do it all the time, or they present incomplete messages and revised history or selective history. Case in point, this whole narrative about why Russia went into Ukraine. I do understand the whole argument, John, about NATO pushing up against Russia's door, sitting on Russia's doorstep. But there's a bigger picture there. And you know what? Maybe I should call you and let you say what you want to say. Do you want me to call you and put you on? Putin is loved. I'll call you right now if you want. And you can say what you want to say. I'll give you a voice. How about that? I'll let you say what you want to say. Let's call up Johnny. Or you can call me while I look for your number. Here we go. John the Leprechaun. Where are you, John? I'm having trouble finding you. I know where to go to find you. There you go. Okay. Not that one, not that one, not that one. Where'd you go? I think this must be it. Yes, here it is. Do you want me to call you? I'm looking in the chat. He's not responding. There he is. There he is. He's calling me. Good. Okay. There he is. Hello, sir. How are you tonight?
I'm here.
There you are. I can hear you now.
Okay. You're
Go ahead. You're on the air.
You're flip-flopping, Rick.
I'm not flip-flopping. I've actually been pretty consistent.
No, you haven't.
Yes, I have.
Let,
It's just that you're not.
Let's play some reruns like 2 months ago. You were praising Russia like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like Ukraine's wrong and this and that.
Yeah, because well, go ahead. Go ahead.
You were showing all those nice videos of Ukraine with all those swastikas on their shirt and on their uniforms.
I still have an issue with that.
Oh, yeah, you were showing all this stuff. You were so against it. All of a sudden?
Yeah, in the beginning of the war, absolutely. I was absolutely against the war happening. I didn't want the war to happen. I was absolutely against it.
I don't either.
Yeah.
But this Mike guy, he's trying to there's no more Ukrainians in the war. They're all what do you call those guys that they pay? They pay these guys to fight $1,000 a week or
mercenary.
A day or
You're saying you're mercenaries.
Yeah, that's what's going on there right now.
Well, can you where's your proof of that?
It's all over the news.
The news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they even have I'll send it to you if you're.
I don't doubt. I know that from the very beginning, both sides use mercenaries, but that's not to say that the bulk of the force is made up of mercenaries. Both sides use mercenaries.
Most of the people in Ukraine have left. They're in Canada, USA, Saskatchewan.
Yeah, they've definitely had an exodus of population, people trying to escape the violence, no question about that. We showed that in the very beginning too, especially.
A lot of them don't want to fight.
Yeah, and I know that on the Russian side, a lot of people don't want to fight too. No,
yes,
a lot of Ukrainians left.
True.
And information about that on the Russian side was kind of slow coming out, but I've seen absolute reports of that too. So both sides, you have people trying to avoid becoming involved.
Look at the population of Ukraine. Look at the population of Russia. Do you really want to go against someone like Russia when you don't have the population behind you?
Looks to me like it's already happening, John. It's been going on for 2.5 years. So I don't know at this point whether someone wants to or not. The reality is it's happening.
Ukraine's done. As soon as Trump gets in,
if there's
first day, it's over.
If Trump can get in there and bring the two sides together and bring this thing to a peaceful resolution, that would be a fantastic thing, and then people would stop dying. So no issues with that.
I heard today that Trump's going to ditch that JD, whatever his name is.
JD Vance, yeah.
And guess who's he replacing him with? Kennedy.
Oh.
That's what I'm hearing. I don't know if it's true yet.
It could be true. I mean, you never know. I'll tell you this. I just don't know much about that J.D. Vance. And he seems to be almost like a groomed...
Nobody likes him.
Yeah, I know. It's weird. Although I got attacked, eh? No, listen to this, man. I posted a little clip from the show the other night in the shorts on YouTube when Vance said that Kamala Harris could go to hell. And the prelude, me saying J.D. Vance ramped up the rhetoric and got emotional in response to Kamala Harris attacking Trump for the Arlington Cemetery issue. Then he comes on and says she can go to hell. Then all these people, for that one little clip, started hammering me like I was criticizing J.D. Vance. I'm like, well, what's this about? And you know what it was, John? It's they were thinking that the word rhetoric was me using it in a negative way, like I was criticizing him. I'm just saying the guy's using political rhetoric. It's like the skillful or artful use of persuasive speech. That's all that I mean by rhetoric. But some people just don't have the comprehension skills, I guess, to understand what it is I say when I sit in this chair some nights. But it was pretty vicious. It was a pretty neutral clip, it's him saying she can go to hell. I don't know. I thought it was a notable clip. That's the only reason I put it up. What do you think of that?
That wasn't called for either.
Whatever.
I agree with you.
Yeah, it was political rhetoric. You get it on both sides. Anyway, so for anybody that's going to hammer on me and attack me over that later, now you know where I stand on it, all right? Like, I was just kind of neutral about it. I wasn't really taking a position or making any statement on that. Whatever.
Well, with this Ukraine, you know how it's going to end, eh? Two ways I look at it.
What do you think?
Trump gets in.
Yeah.
He's going to end it by a phone call. First day, he says. He says first day. He's going to end that first day.
I believe he probably could do it.
He's not going to fund them. He's not going to send them anything. So I don't know what they're going to do for... right now, the European Union is supplying a lot of the goods. And how long can they keep it up for? They're going broke.
Well, actually, the United States, the funding package did finally come through. Ukraine was really on the back foot when there was the delay in the aid package, which was the result of pressure and strategy used by Trump and the MAGA movement and the MAGA politicians, right? So we saw that for sure. And that does give us an indication that Trump probably won't want to continue support to the same level. But I wouldn't bet that if Trump gets elected, they would just cut Ukraine off.
He will.
I'm not so sure.
That about over a dozen times.
Well, maybe, but I just can't see him.
You can't keep saying that if you don't mean it.
Yeah, you can when you're a politician.
The other way it's going to end.
Yeah.
Is if Trump starts picking up steam on the polls, Democrats will cause a world war, just so they can't call an election. That's the other way, I think. That's what I'm thinking. But
well, that's a little conspiratorial, but given the way the Democrats and these, I don't know, it could happen. As much as that sounds conspiratorial, you might be right. I don't know.
That's the other way, but I just can't see being an even fight when you look at the population of Russia and you look at the population of Ukraine. There's no match.
Well,
there's no match. And Russia, they're creating ammo like nobody's business.
Well, so some pundits would have us believe, but and actually you touched on something.
Mike says so that they want to cut off the power because they're creating ammo so fast and so massive. Well, they want to stop them from creating it by shutting down the power.
Well, both sides. That's what Russia's trying to do in Ukraine. Now Ukraine's doing it inside Russia. I'll tell you this, John. If Russia's so winning, why are they getting so hit with drones inside Moscow?
Russia's got 1,000, 2,000 pounders. They haven't even used them yet. Once you start using those, a lot of people are going to die. The place is going to look like Gaza.
So what purpose would it serve for Russia to just bomb civilians with giant bombs?
Well, they can't do that because then it will be a world war.
Yeah, and just like Israel going into Gaza, they'll lose international public support, I would say.
Well, Israel's already done. I sent you a good video today. I'm still watching it off and on. Yeah. You'd be surprised what Iran and Hezbollah, what they got. They got a massive backup. They can destroy Israel in a snap of the fingers.
I don't think so.
This is for real. Yeah. Watch that video I sent you. I sent it to you.
I'll try to. People send me so many videos every day. Watch this. It'll wake you up.
Undercovers. ABC News. They got undercovers because they're being followed by the government.
If
taking their videos away from them and everything. They're using undercovers to talk to people and video stuff because they're using ABC as a decoy, and then they got other people. It's unbelievable that what's going on behind closed doors. And I'm telling you right now, they can wipe They show the drone footage.
It don't look to me like, I don't know. Yeah, like, I don't know. I don't know, man.
Hezbollah and Iran, they've gone with drone footage without being detected, and they know where all their boats are, their ships, everything, and they show it on this video. Clears a bell. They know all the targets.
What happened to Iran? They were rattling their sabers, and they were, displaying their testosterone and saying they were gonna. Iran was gonna.
Iran. They already said what they're doing.
What are they doing? Nothing. They did
they're
nothing.
Putting a scare tactic on Israel. Right now, Israel doesn't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's gone on so long. I don't think that people even remember what it is Iran would be retaliating for.
The longer they prolong this fight, the worse it is for Israel, because they're every day. Look at the people right now. Actually, you played some of it. It's chaos over there.
Yeah, and who's out in the streets protesting? Would you say? Where do you think that's coming from?
I see Israel people there.
Yeah, that's sure for sure. But
didn't you see today
I did. Massive protests here. I can bring it up. Let me see if I can find the footage.
They had 6 coffins on the stage. They had 6 coffins of the people they brought. They don't want dead people back. They're saying a third of those hostages are already dead.
Oh,
that's what they're saying.
If any of them are even still alive at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, no question about it.
And the longer they prolong this thing, the more are going to die. So they're going to get all dead hostages back.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, who killed them? Who killed the hostages?
They're starving. Most of them are
starving.
Look at that old man that they got
They're
back.
starving.
Like a rake. It was like a rake. He hasn't
Who
eaten,
killed John? Who killed the Israeli hostages?
Hamas did, or wherever.
That's right. Hamas killed.
Because they had no choice.
Hamas killed these 6 hostages. Why did they have to kill these hostages?
Otherwise, they'd be rescued.
Otherwise, they'd be rescued. What did these 6 people do to deserve to be killed? They're civilians.
They're hostages. They're bargaining chips.
Yeah.
And they don't want to make a deal. They just want to wipe them all out.
So that's okay it's okay to take innocent civilians prisoner and kill them?
West Bank, they're already trying. They're already bulldozing the streets, bulldozing houses.
No. It's okay for 6 innocent people to be taken to be captured, taken and imprisoned in tunnels, and then murdered. That's okay.
They had no choice.
They had no choice.
All that has to happen.
So Hamas had no free. So these Hamas people, they have no free will as human beings. They just had no choice. They were compelled to murder them. They had to kill them.
Hostages back tomorrow.
Could they? Because I don't hear Hamas offering. Hamas hasn't offered to give them up.
Because Israel doesn't want to give up. They want the power.
Well, we certainly we have a war on our hands, don't we? And Hamas isn't offering up anything. Well, so it's okay for these people to be murdered.
No, it's nothing. Never okay.
Okay, then we're in agreement. They shouldn't have.
But
who killed them? Hamas killed. No, what do you mean they had no choice?
They would have. Israel would have looked like saints rescuing these 6 people. They would have had the upper hand. So they said, okay, you want to rescue them? Here, you can have them.
Dead.
You can have them.
Dead?
Yeah.
That you're okay with that.
You want them that bad? You can have them.
So you're okay with that?
Well, I am okay in one way. It's causing chaos with the people in Israel because they don't want dead hostages.
So you think you're okay with them killing innocent people that were just at a concert?
What do you think Israel's doing?
I'm not excusing anything. I'm asking you about this. So it's okay. So it's okay for this, but it's not okay on the other side.
Prisoners right up the roof. They're sticking hot right.
So who's biased now, John? Who's biased now? Who's
okay with you?
Who's?
Is that okay?
I didn't say it was okay. I said, what did I, Johnny, John, what did I say from the very beginning? What did I say from the very beginning about this conflict?
Sick, man. These people are sick.
Who's sick?
They're the Xenon or whatever they're called. They're sick.
They're sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sticking a hot iron rod up a guy's rear. That's sick.
Well,
it's sick. What did they do to deserve that?
That's certainly what the narrative has been, and anybody that if that's what happened, then those people should be held accountable for that too. And I'm not okay with torture on any side. I'm not okay with any of it. I'm not okay with any of it.
The military guys that were
I'm not Benjamin Netanyahu, and I'm not the IDF. And I'm not okay with any of that either, John. And I'm not okay with that. But you're okay with these 6 people being murdered, but on the other side, but you're
not okay with someone getting a hot rod up their rear.
Are you okay? But you're okay. You just said you're okay with these people being murdered.
I'm not okay with that.
But you said you just said you were.
I just want everything to end.
Okay.
And
then we're in agreement. Then we are in agreement.
Palestine to be free. I want them to be their
What
own
do you mean by free?
They want. That's all they want. Is they want to be free from these maniacs.
Maniacs.
Yeah.
Then maybe they shouldn't have sent all those Hamas fighters in on October 7th.
Mow the lawn. You know what mow the lawn is. Why did he do that? Mow the lawn. Well, why do you have to go in Palestine?
Maybe if they hadn't come in on October 7th, they wouldn't need to send the lawnmowers in.
Well, that's why they did that, because they're getting mowed the lawn every 3 months. They're there mowing the lawn, killing people, shooting them in the knees, crippling them. Why?
Maybe because rockets are being launched.
Let them live their life.
Maybe because the rockets are being launched and they're living under constant threat and they have to keep shooting down thousands of rockets, like 6,000 have been launched.
Yeah, because
6,000. How would you like to live someplace where people are launching thousands of rockets at your house every day, and you have to shoot them all down?
Oh, it's always one side. Hey, what about the other side?
That's what I'm asking you. What about the other side?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The other side.
Yeah, well, shouldn't we be talking about both sides?
Look it up. Mowing the lawn.
I know what it means, John.
It's been going on for decades.
I know what that means.
Why do they have to do that?
How far back in time do you want to go? We've had this discussion, and I've explained it multiple times. And, you're just, because after the formation of Israel, those Arab states wouldn't accept that the United Nations approved the creation of Israel, and there it sits. They didn't. They didn't want it then, and they don't want it now, and they've been fighting ever since.
Free those people. You know what? If you ask me, I would fight against the Jews for doing that, because you're trying to fight. You're fighting a war that you want to be free. You don't want to be. If you weren't free in Canada, you'd be doing the same thing here, right? You'd be fighting because you're not free.
Seems to me that we've got people in the streets fighting that war right now in a way that people are not really aware of. And all of these things are. What do you mean? What do I mean? It's pretty obvious. Didn't you see the people tearing up the sod at McGill University yesterday?
No.
No, well, let me find that.
Why McGill University? Why were they doing that?
It sort of defies logic, doesn't it?
Maybe because they're sick and tired of all these innocent kids and everybody getting murdered.
Well,
maybe has that got something to do with it? Maybe, Rick, killing innocent.
Well,
people?
Yeah, well, then, maybe they shouldn't be killing innocent people like these 6 hostages. And then maybe we could get to a place of peace faster.
So give them back.
Goddamn right, John. Goddamn right. Give them back.
And make Netanyahu look like a hero, right?
No, just give them back, because the people are innocent and they shouldn't be sitting in custody in they don't deserve to be killed. They didn't do anything.
That's right. They didn't do anything.
That's right. These 6 people didn't do anything to deserve to be killed.
Just like all those kids and women.
That's
and
right.
Men that are being killed.
That's
they
right.
Didn't do nothing. Why are they killing them?
Because it's a senseless war.
Now this polio vaccine, I don't trust these people. They're probably hitting them with a vaccine that's tainted. That's probably going to kill them off anyways. And then blame it on the polio.
It's a pro-Hamas, pro-Palestinian group that is facilitating that polio vaccine program.
Don't you see all the lies? This Yahoo. Everything comes out of his mouth is a lie.
Oh, is that ever? Okay. Well, John.
You don't see that?
John.
You can't read lips. The guy's everything that comes out of his mouth is a lie.
Oh, everything that comes out of his mouth is a lie.
Yes.
Right. Well, that in itself is not a factor. 90%. So here they are tearing up the sod at McGill University. What is the point? It's a vandalism. Well, the Hamas ain't stopping.
Of course they're not. And so is Israel.
So if Hamas isn't going to stop, what's Israel supposed to do?
Work on the deal.
Work on a deal. The United States keeps tabling deals, and they keep getting better and better for Hamas, and Hamas just keeps rejecting them.
They're a bunch of liars, just like the Hamas is. You trust the United States?
So it's never Hamas's fault. It's always the other side. And even though deals have been tabled and Hamas rejects them,
Hamas is fighting for their lives. Okay.
Then maybe they should get to the table and maybe. And you know if they were to release the hostages, then maybe the fighting could stop.
Oh yeah, then they'll get demolished. Then they'll wipe them all out. This way, right now, at least they got a bargaining chip.
Well, what good is the bargaining chip, John, if they're never going to give them up?
Just sign the two-state solution.
They don't want a two-state solution.
And get the hell out of Gaza.
There is no two-state solution There's no two-state solution to sign.
Build a big wall, 100-foot high around it. Okay. With no gates.
Well, I'm glad you've got the solution. I'm glad you've got the solution, John. But there's no two-state solution to sign right now because Hamas doesn't want it. Well, they don't want it, and I don't think Israel at this point wants it either. Except, do you know who's out in the streets protesting? It's the people on the left side of the political spectrum. It's the left-wing political parties that have fomented this.
I'm on the left, and I'm protesting myself.
You're on the left.
Maybe not on the street.
You're on the left. You're right. What do you mean you're not on the left?
And I'm not a left-winger. I'm all right. I only vote conservative. Okay.
I know, because you're very confused right now. But you're on the left. Everything you're sending me and all the arguments you're making are from the left. You don't even realize it.
Well, you can call me whatever you want, but I don't like to see little kids and no reasonable human being likes to see little kids killed. I don't like it either. So don't put words in my mouth. I've been very consistent on this from the beginning. I told you, I said Netanyahu shouldn't do it like that. Yeah.
But it doesn't justify this either.
Ukraine, the NATO and the states have them under. They're like puppets. They got them under.
Go back to your propaganda and stuff it in your brain. That's all you want to know. The truth, man. I'm going to tell you some truth. Here's the truth. Both sides, when there's a war, they simplify stories to build up public support. It's called, Noam Chomsky has a phrase for it. It's called manufacturing consent. If they told you the truth, neither side would have the public supporting them, or it would be very difficult. The truth of the matter is, Russia has other interests in there other than being concerned about Ukraine being a NATO nation. They have a lot of other
that's
issues.
Probably true. That's probably true.
They absolutely do. And the real nuance of this is that Russia is protecting its assets. Assets and geopolitical and military assets, geographical assets like the port at Sevastopol in Crimea. They need that port. You know, Putin didn't take Crimea because it's a great vacation spot. He took Crimea because of that port. Do you know how important that port is?
Yeah, it's very important.
Yeah, why?
To move the goods in and out.
Not just the goods, my friend. That has been a military port for Russia. It was during the Soviet era, and then after the fall of the Soviet Union, that port became instrumental. When Ukraine got its independence, it was vital for Russia to still exert control over Ukraine because they need access to that port. How did they do that? They installed their own leader in Ukraine, and they had their own puppet in there, and they had a lease on the port. They recently, just prior to the conflict, they extended that lease by 25 years. And I think there was another 5 years on that lease that it could be extended for unless either side objected to it. So they want that port because do you know what that port provides? It provides a place for the Black Sea fleet, for the Russian fleet to station in that part of the world. And where does that port lead to, John?
Where does it lead to?
I'll tell you, John. It leads to the Suez Canal, and then down into the Red Sea, and then that becomes a vital shipping lane and trade route. But it also provides faster access for the Russian military, for the Russian Navy to North America through the Atlantic Ocean. Without that port, Russia's almost like landlocked on that side of the globe.
That's true.
Absolutely freaking true. So all this narrative from Professor Mearsheimer and Scott Ritter and Colonel McGregor and all the other pundits out there, it's just because they wanted to join NATO. No, the reason this all happened is because Ukraine also wanted to join. They had an opportunity as a sovereign independent nation state, even with the Russian installed puppet in charge, that they had voted in favor of doing more business with the European Union. Business, not joining NATO. Putin didn't want any of that. He couldn't have that because that puts everything kind of at risk in Crimea. And more than that, in the areas up around Donetsk, and in those areas, that's all the industrialized area. And those are predominantly Russian-speaking areas. They became Russified, especially during the Soviet era. That's when Russia sent in a lot of Russians to try to purge the Ukrainian culture from those areas. And that's where all the heavy industry is. Your steel industry and all the factories that support the military-industrial complex. Not the North American military-industrial complex, the Russian military-industrial complex, my friend. And so it was vital for Putin to regain control of that, especially if Ukraine was then going to start doing business with the EU predominantly instead of Russia. Couldn't have that. He wanted those factories to build all those munitions for Russia, not the other way around. And he wanted control of that steel and all those heavy industries up there. So don't give, I'm tired of the whole, it was just NATO. And if they didn't want to join NATO, then, okay, so there's a lot more to it. There's culture, there's language issues, there's internal politics. There was a civil war that was ongoing that was really fomented and accelerated and by Russia, by Putin, because he armed the rebels in those areas. And he let that civil war percolate for quite a while before using that as justification to send in troops to say that he was defending the Russian-speaking population, which is sort of true technically, but you really have to look at the broader picture to get the full context on this stuff. So it's not really fair to just sit there and continuously blame Ukraine for all of this. And then the whole Nazi narrative. Yeah, I've got a problem with Nazis in Canada, in the United States, in Russia, in any damn country, including Ukraine, where you've got Nazis. But the truth of the matter is, you've got a neo-Nazi problem worldwide because that's an ideology. And yes, there are some people with that ideology still in Ukraine. But that's low-hanging, easy pickings, low-hanging fruit for people who are just looking for an excuse and propaganda and a narrative to justify a damn invasion into a country, because it makes up a small portion of the population and the military, just like over here and just like in Russia. That's, it's not really truly a valid argument in 2024, especially when the political ideological lines are really blurred and these old cliches and even symbols don't even really make sense anymore. You can't really quite apply these things in quite the way because you've had a convergence of a lot of these ideologies, and it's just not accurate. It's a cliche though, and it's easy to sell to people to get people jacked up and emotional to support a war, which is what Putin is doing on his side. Just like over on our side, our people also use a lot of, marketing techniques and narratives spun up in order to get people to buy into something, including this war. So it's true on both sides, but to really understand, you've got to look at what's really at stake and what's really being done. And that's really the truth of the matter. And just to sit there and smear an entire country as being a bunch of Nazis when it's just bloody well not true, it's just not fair, and it's dangerous because people are not making really informed decisions. They're making decisions and deciding where their support for things lie based on lies and propaganda and exaggerations and cliches and old tropes. And it's just not right. That's why I'm sitting in this chair every night trying to give people a more accurate picture so that you are more informed, because this program is for people with real brains and not just people who get pulled around by the nose and just suck up propaganda and accept it as fact and base all their decisions on emotion. You can't do that. There's much more to all of this than meets the eye. And even that conflict in Gaza is connected to what's going on right now in Ukraine. And it's connected because of why? That stupid Suez Canal. That's why, because of that trade route and that route for the military vessels. Because who's controlling the Red Sea, which connects to the Suez Canal on the other side right now? The Houthis. Who are the Houthis? They're in Yemen. They're a rebel force in Yemen, and they're attacking ships, civilian ships, to prevent them from going through the Suez Canal, which is they're using the conflict in Gaza as justification for doing that. Because, John, what we're really dealing with here is a global communo-fascistic revolution, and these two conflicts are just the center points. Those are where the kinetic wars are happening, but there's a larger geopolitical struggle going on right now, and that is the great reset that people talk about. It's just that in people's minds, it's all twisted around, upside down, and they don't understand that it's really kind of the age-old struggle between the West and the East in the world, and it's a struggle for power and economic dominance because they're trying to tear down capitalism. And that's what Israel has become. It's become a metaphor for capitalism, the banking industry, for the U.S. presence in the Middle East, the petrodollar, all of those things, which is connected to the United States, which is capitalism versus communism. Except the problem is right now, even those labels don't apply, because if you look at what the BRICS nations really are, they're not that much different than what's going on over here. It's just that they want to be the ones controlling everything instead of the other way around. And
who started that?
Who started that?
Yeah, the Americans did.
Oh, for crying out loud, John. Nobody started it. Nobody started that. Russia, right. Oh, it's always for you, it's always the United States. It's always the U.S. because they want you to think that way.
I'm a man with solutions, okay?
Yeah,
and
really?
My solutions are not with war.
Okay.
I've got an idea to solve this issue.
Thank you. Good, because I need
I
that.
hope Mike is listening. I hope Mike is listening.
Yeah.
Okay. I know the Americans won't go for this because that's not their style. They just want to conquer. But my solution is this: you get an independent company, call an election in Ukraine. Who do you want to be with? Do you want to be with Russia?
They
or
did.
do you want to be with the U.S.?
They already had that conversation. It wasn't about joining the U.S. It was about joining the European Union, and the people voted in favor. And there was a vote held, and their legislative assembly, their government voted in favor of joining the EU, the European Union. That was what led to all the conflict in 2014.
I don't think Putin has a problem with that.
Yeah, he did. He had a big problem with it.
I don't think he does.
And the president,
he's got a problem with NATO.
And the president of Ukraine at the time rejected that. He'd never approved it, even though he said he would. And why was that? Because Putin had a problem with it, and he was Putin's puppet.
Well,
and then he ended up.
I don't remember that.
I know you don't remember it because you're not being told that. But you can look it up. I'm not making this up.
The Americans stopped it.
The Americans stopped it. No. That's the other kind of. Yeah, the Americans had some influence in there, no question about it, as did other countries, and certainly so did Russia. And that's why at the time, Ukraine's president had to flee the country. He left the country after agreeing. So he said, "Okay, I'll sign it," but then he didn't sign it, and he left. Where did he end up? Where'd he go?
Get rid of this Zelensky guy. The guy's an actor. Get rid of him. Put someone serious in charge there.
He looks like he's pretty serious right now because they just had some shit blown up in Russia overnight. He looks pretty serious about it right now. And I'd say, I don't know, man. Like he's got some territory there in Kursk that Russia's trying to downplay, but that's significant. And these drone strikes overnight, 150 plus. And yeah, man, a few of those hit their targets. And that's an oil refinery that got taken out.
An honest election in Ukraine. Come on.
John, no country, any country that's at war doesn't have elections. And their constitution provides for the continuity of government.
This is the problem. So why don't they have one?
Because they're at war. So it becomes. They are.
Guy, put someone serious in there who can work with these governments.
Putin can have.
He's a puppet for the states. Okay, he's a puppet for the states. That's all he is. Whatever the states dangled in his face, he jumps as long as
I don't know. I don't know. He's been pretty critical of some of the stuff the U.S. has been doing, and I mean, he is at the mercy of the United States and the aid that they're sending. No question about it.
I like to see an election.
Well, I think everybody would like to see an election, but no country, every single country with a constitution has a provision in the constitution that allows the government to continue governing during a time of war.
That's what I'm afraid of. The Democrats are probably going to cause a world war there. Just so there's no election.
Well, you just acknowledged what I just said, and that's why there's no election there, because it's dangerous for people to go to the polls at that time, because it's dangerous for the country to have a disruption during a time of war. Yes, it is. It's dangerous for a government. Because of course he would love to have a disruption of service, governmental service, and a change of power during a time of war. Of course he would love that. It becomes very disruptive and then leaves the country.
Russia, anyways.
Well,
but look at that.
Because...
What's that other country there? Belarus or whatever you call it.
Belarus, yeah.
Belarus. They're good cahoots with Russia. Why can't Ukraine be like them?
Well, I don't want to, it's far be it from me to speak for the Ukrainian people, but they have a distinct culture. They have their own history. They have a very, they have a dark history. John, do you know the history of Ukraine with Russia? Do you not understand why they don't want?
But it's time to straighten these arguments, stupid arguments.
Well, I'd love for that to happen, John, but that's not going to happen, nor does it need to. I got a better question for you. Why does Putin need for Ukraine to be part of Russia?
No, be like Belarus. Be your own independent, but work together.
Well, sure. Well,
Belarus is not going to allow NATO to go in there and set up shop.
Ukraine was an independent sovereign state before Putin went in and tried to take it over.
Hey, listen.
That's what I've said too. I think Ukraine should be an independent sovereign nation state, free of influence from either side. That's what I would like to see.
Have an election.
Well, I'm sure they'll get to it as soon as the war is over.
Well, you're not going to have a war over if you don't have if one side, if the American...
You don't want an election. You want Ukraine to give up. That's what you want.
No.
And I can't speak for Ukraine and what they're going to do.
I don't know what you don't see. If you look at the population of Russia and you look at the population, you don't stand a chance.
I don't know. They seem to be doing pretty well 2.5 years later.
Oh my God.
The thing is, John, you can't,
They got no more people to fight. They're all mercenaries now. They're all people from...
Well, then what do you care?
NATO, they're all in there.
Well, then if that's the case, what do you care? There's no country there anyway, and they can... And if they're mercenaries, they've all made... They seem to have a choice and free will, unlike Hamas, which apparently they're automatons and they have no choice and they just have to go around killing people. But the mercenaries in Ukraine, I guess they have free will. So if they choose to go fight and get slaughtered, then what do you care? They're not children.
Yeah.
They're just in there for the money. So I don't know. If people choose to go to war for cash, then I don't have a lot of sympathy for them, I guess, if they get shot.
Trump's going to end this now. He's going to end it ugly for them, or they can work now and end it peacefully and maybe make Zelensky look shine. But if Trump gets in there, it's going to be ugly, Rick. Ugly. He'll probably say to Russia, do what you want. Do what you want. They don't want to listen to me. Do what you want. We're not giving them anything no more. Do what you want. And then what are they going to do? What are they going to do? Are they all going to go hide under a rock somewhere?
Well, Mike says they'll fight with shovels if they have to because they don't want to be part of Russia. And I think that there's some people there that feel that way. Yeah.
Well, Belarus, they're not part of Russia.
Well, Belarus isn't Ukraine.
Huh?
Belarus is not like Ukraine. It's a totally different country. The culture is different. The people are different, and they don't have the same history with Russia. No, I don't want to be looking at all these other things. I want to focus so we can have an intelligent conversation. What is it? What is the history with Ukraine and Russia? Why do you think they don't want to be part of Russia?
Well, you're not a part of Russia. Is Belarus part of Russia?
No, but they're an allied state. But the point is, why do you think they don't want to be living under Russian rule again, like they did before?
Is Belarus living under Russian rule?
Belarus is not in the discussion. That's a separate country and a totally separate set of circumstances. We're talking about Ukraine.
Be like them.
Well, because they're Ukrainian, they're not Belarusians.
So what's
the difference? What's the difference? There's a big difference. Yeah. Ukrainians have their own culture and their own language.
You're telling me Russia wants all their resources, Ukraine's resources.
I'm telling you that it's more complicated than what we've been fed through the narratives.
Want Ukraine resources more than Russia. Russia's got their own resources. They don't need Ukraine. The Americans want BlackRock and those people. They're already mining over there for their resources.
I haven't even gotten into the BlackRock thing, which you've got a lot of people all twisted around.
They're already mining for those resources.
Oh, BlackRock is?
Fucking right there.
BlackRock's a mining company?
Sorry about that.
BlackRock's a mining company?
You better believe it.
Oh, really? No, they're not.
You take the GO train down to the X.
No.
You see all BlackRock bulldozers on the side of the tracks there.
BlackRock
Renovating
bulldozers.
tracks and everything.
BlackRock
They're doing all
bulldozers?
kinds of- BlackRock is the biggest company in the world. They do everything.
Really?
Yes.
No, they don't.
Yeah. Okay.
No, they don't.
They don't.
No, they don't. You've got it. You've been fed. People are being fed such a line on BlackRock. That's such a load of shit.
We have them here working on the rail tracks. I see all their bulldozers on the side.
Really? What makes you think they're BlackRock bulldozers?
Because I googled the name on the so I'm right back to BlackRock.
Do you know what is John? What is no? You know what? What is okay? You want to get into this? You want to do this tonight? I was going to save this for another night. We probably should save it for another night. I told you before I was going to explain why you're getting it wrong and why people even like Whitney Webb are getting it wrong on BlackRock.
She's not all wrong. Some of it could be wrong, but
oh no, man, they're getting it wrong, and they're spinning up a narrative. They've turned BlackRock into a boogeyman, and I know what they're doing, but it's not accurate, not even freaking close.
Biggest company, the largest company in the world is BlackRock, and
what does BlackRock control?
They control everything.
No, they don't.
They got their name in everything.
Nope.
From banks, construction.
No.
Tech,
yeah. Well, they're attached to a lot of things. That's for sure because they're diversified. What is BlackRock?
It's the biggest company in the world.
What kind of company is it? What do they do, John? What do they do?
You name it, they do it.
No, that's not true. That's not true at all. They have a very specific business model. What is it that BlackRock does? You don't even know. You're sitting here telling me that BlackRock is the biggest company in the world that controls everything, that they own everything, and it's not true. It's not even close to true. You don't even know what they do.
Okay.
Well, what do they do? Tell me, and I'll tell you. I know what they do, but you don't, and you're sitting there making that claim based on all the bullshit that's been fed through the media. And I'm watching it, and I'm like, these people are out to frickin' lunch.
You know BlackRock, and they're tied in with Bank of America, one of the biggest banks in the world.
Well, I thought they were in the construction business a minute ago.
They're in the banking, construction, computer tech. They're in everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Right. That's in that way you're kind of right, because what kind of business is BlackRock? What is it?
They're tech, they're banking, they're everything.
Not really. Like they're attached to it, but that's not what they are. They are an asset management company. What is that?
They do that too.
You're a smart. No, that's what they do. You're a smart guy. You have investments. What's an asset management company do?
They manage companies, yeah.
No, they don't manage companies. They manage assets.
No, companies' assets. Yeah.
No, not companies' assets. Nope, that's not what they do. You still don't get it. BlackRock is an asset management company. They manage investment assets for clients. They have different financial products like ETFs. They have mutual funds, all kinds of other investment products that people can purchase. They have a lot of institutional investors with assets. They buy stocks, bonds, mutual funds on behalf of clients, and they manage those funds. So it's like, again, low-hanging fruit for really stupid people to absorb stupid information and cliches and tropes that are based on BS. They do not control these companies. They're an asset management firm. And the shit that you've been sending me is just one lie after another by clickbait artists and propagandists. All the stuff that I've looked at that you've been sending me over the last month about BlackRock, because BlackRock is right at the very top of the propaganda pyramid right now because of people like Whitney Webb who are spreading all of this crap about BlackRock, which is basically a giant lie. BlackRock is an asset management company. they manage investment assets for clients, and they are extremely diversified to minimize investment risk across the board. What does that mean? It means that BlackRock doesn't actually control much of anything. What they do is they offer like mutual funds. People buy mutual funds or ETFs, and these are financial products that purchase portions of companies through stocks and other investments, and then they own a percentage of a lot of different companies.
Motley fools.
Oh, I don't care where you're getting it from, John. The reality is, then you send
global investment management firm. The
Yeah.
company ended 2022 job-breaking $10 trillion.
Yeah, they control a massive amount of money, over $10 trillion worth of
These
assets.
run gamut from shares in large public trading companies.
That's right.
Single-family
Shares.
homes, critical infrastructure.
Yes.
Asset pipelines.
Yes.
Company manages all these assets on behalf of retail,
The
institutional.
biggest, look, you can look this up too. I believe that BlackRock, actually, their biggest investments are in companies like Apple, Nvidia, Microsoft,
that's right.
some of these other companies. Those are the companies now, and Meta, which is, probably one of the most evil companies out there, but they own that, but those are the companies they own the biggest shares in, and even there, they don't really control those companies. They only own a portion of those. Plus, BlackRock itself doesn't own those companies or even own those assets. Their clients own the assets. BlackRock just manages those investments on behalf of their clients. Do you understand?
Infrastructure, GIP, and early.
So
$4.5 billion cash.
manages the portfolios for people who invest money with them. Well, who might that be? That would be like pension funds, institutional investors, institutions with big blocks of money sometimes. Those are the big clients. And then they do have also a portion of their business that facilitates investments for small investors like yourself. So you can buy mutual funds or other kinds of investments through BlackRock. And then BlackRock, you go to them and you consult with a professional financial advisor who manages your retirement fund for you. So you've got your retirement fund with BlackRock, but BlackRock doesn't own the stocks that you own. They just manage those. And then they take that money and invest it on your behalf. And that falls under the BlackRock umbrella. And that's what makes up the over $10 trillion of assets that BlackRock manages. But BlackRock doesn't actually own that. It's owned by you. Get it? So when you sit there and get all upset and think that BlackRock is the evil company doing all of these evil things, no. BlackRock is actually the biggest expression probably in history of capitalistic, individualistic investment and it's this is why the left hates them so much. It's because it's the ultimate collective expression of individualistic investment. It's individuals expressing their economic might collectively, but still having the company act on their behalf in an individualistic manner without falling under the umbrella of some collectivist economic ideology like communism. It's the ultimate expression of individualistic capitalism. And it has been so efficient, so powerful, so effective that it has become one of the largest companies in the world. But it represents not one company, it represents millions and millions and millions and millions of individuals. And BlackRock doesn't act on its own best interests. It acts on the best interests and desires of its investors. That's why communists and the people on the left, all your recent newfound friends like Bleachhead, Okay, Javik's head over there with secular what's his face. That guy's doing those. That's why they hate him, because it's the ultimate expression of individualistic capitalism in history, and it's been phenomenally successful. It allows individuals to compete with countries like China and communist governments as individual investors. And you talk about institutional investors, it's like the teachers' unions that have pension funds for their teachers. They'll invest it with BlackRock. But BlackRock doesn't really control, John, any of these companies directly. They typically only own somewhere between 1% and 5% of any company that they invest in, because they're widely diversified. That's why people like Whitney Webb and some of these others can sit there and say, BlackRock owns this, BlackRock owns that, BlackRock owns everything, because they're so big, so widely diversified by owning very small portions of a lot of companies that they minimize the risk for their investors. And they are like integral to the economic system that we have built up over time, which is the most successful in the history of mankind and has lifted more people out of poverty than any system in history. And it's been phenomenally beneficial to man and humankind. That's the truth of the matter.
You're right. But they are one of the richest companies in the world.
They are. But here's the other thing. People say, yeah, but then they take all that profit and they're buying up all this real estate, and they're no, they're not. No, they're not. People are quite mistaken, and they are conflating two things and confusing two different companies, including people like Whitney Webb, who really needs a schooling in economics, frankly. And
why is BlackRock?
Because it's not BlackRock. BlackRock does not get into the business of buying up individual family homes and those kinds of business.
Why is BlackRock in
No, I'll get to that if you want to talk about that, I can get to it in a minute. But BlackRock doesn't buy up real estate and manage real estate. There's another company, not nearly as big as BlackRock. It's called Blackstone. They do buy real estate and invest, and they'll buy up large blocks of real estate, and people get the two confused all the time. BlackRock does invest in real estate, but they don't manage the properties. Blackstone does, but there are provisions in place within US law and legislation and in other countries that can counteract and counterbalance any of the imbalances that are created by unfair trade practices that large companies like Blackstone might engage in, should bureaucrats and politicians and community leaders choose to exercise the use of those tools. And they can use a variety of tools to make sure that companies like Blackstone don't create unfair market distortions through unfair trade practices, through antitrust laws and legislation to prevent monopolization of particular industries. You can use tools, especially at the local municipal level, through zoning and bylaws to prevent companies from owning too much of a particular neighborhood, say, or controlling a particular, too much of a particular industrial area, should you choose to do that as a community. So there are a lot of tools in place that can be used to minimize impact from, large companies coming in and turning a market upside down unfairly. In other words, you need to make sure that you inject a certain amount of competition into the marketplace in order to facilitate proper market dynamics and proper pricing for consumers, especially in the housing market. And Justin Trudeau needs an economic lesson in economics, especially in the dynamics of economic theory as it relates to real estate, because he doesn't know what the hell he's doing either. That's why we have a housing shortage, but that's another story. The point being, all this stuff that people are being fed, John, is just, a simplified BS message designed to demonize a company like BlackRock because it has become a metaphor for capitalism. And because it's so big and it's so easy to kind of conflate and lie about what they're really doing, that they're using it as a tool to undermine support and confidence in the U.S. government, in our institutions, and even in the economy, which is what the BRICS nations want, which is what Russia wants. They want people to lose confidence in our economy because that helps them tear everything down here. It's all part of the geopolitical revolution that's going on, this communo-fascistic attempt to tear down Western society and capitalism. BlackRock is just the poster child, the demonized poster child that they're using to prop up as a metaphor for capitalism and say, look at that evil BlackRock. All you have to do now, they've been so effective with that propagandistic narrative, they've been so successful with it. All you have to do is just say BlackRock and people's heads explode. It's like BlackRock, evil! It's a trigger word now.
Why is BlackRock in Ukraine?
Because
they got nothing for them.
Because, of course, they're talking about how after the war and even during the war, as things are destroyed, any country needs to rebuild. So the United States, all the countries that support Ukraine. Look, no, John. After the war, you need to capitalize the rebuilding of any country. That's what happened with Japan after World War II. Germany after World War II. So you have to capitalize that somehow. You need.
So they're going to give away free money.
Well, John, somebody's got to do something after the war to facilitate that, and it's going to take massive amounts of money to do it. Now,
and they're going to own it.
Oh, for crying out! Yeah, that's spoken like a true communist. The reality is after any war, you need to rebuild infrastructure. You need to rebuild your buildings. You got to rebuild everything. So they got to come up with a plan. And who are you gonna? Well, who are you gonna get? Oh yeah, okay. Well, you can demonize them that way if you want to, but the reality is we're not even there yet. And I know that our friends over at Redacted love to talk about that crap and make it sound like it's some conspiracy in order to just line the pockets of BlackRock. But that's because they love to just hammer on BlackRock.
Tower, but we own it, then we'll tax everybody.
No, that's not what BlackRock does. BlackRock's not going to own any of it. BlackRock can help capitalize things.
They're just going to give free money away, eh?
Yeah. John, what? How else you're going to have to rebuild? So they're going to have to come up with capital, and there are going to be a lot of companies in there, not just BlackRock, and governments in there to rebuild that country, and they're going to need help. They're going to need to have loans. They're going to need to have capital made available to them. They're going to need even just outright financial assistance from charities donating medical goods and stuff to all the way up to big companies.
We rebuild, but we own the equipment, the farmland. We want a cut of all your profits, and we want everything, right?
I'm not so sure that's going to happen in the way that you're describing it, because all you have to do is, I mean, you look at you've made that same accusation even about Iraq, but
they own you. They own you.
No, John, I just walked you through all of this. I just walked you through all of it, and you agreed that I was right. And now I'm at another juncture, another pivotal point in this conversation, and you just want to grab the cliche again.
Well, that's nobody's going to give you free money without what's in it for me. I'll lend you $1,000, Rick, but what's in it for me?
Well,
what's in it for me?
Well, John, first of all, I'm not sure how the aid package is going to look, but not everything that goes into Ukraine after the war, I'm sure, will just be a loan. Western countries are going to pump a lot of aid back in there. That's what's going to have to happen, because that's what's going to happen. And then, yes, there will be loans to companies and to others. And I can't say that everything that happens in any country, there's always in any country, including Russia, as we've seen even recently, some level of corruption and people taking advantage of things and companies trying to position themselves to make a profit. And that's the thing about BlackRock. This is the other reason BlackRock has become such easy pickings for people who want to criticize. You know why? It's because of ESG. BlackRock is hated by the left and the right now. Do you know why?
Because they got so much cash.
Nope.
Yeah,
Nope. No.
Why?
Because our society has become so progressive and even woke, if you will, that the individual investors went to BlackRock, kind of like over time, and they put more and more pressure on people like Larry Fink, who I think is also kind of progressive in his thinking. And they said, even though we want you to maximize profits through these investments, right? We want you to do so in a responsible way in terms of social justice. And we want you to adopt this ESG. They put more pressure on them to adopt the ESG, environmental social governance code, right? So Larry Fink grabbed that and started to run with it. And on behalf of some of the investors who wanted that, but people on the right of the political spectrum don't like that, because that is more of a collectivist mentality and ideology being super. So what? I mean, I don't even go there, man.
I'm letting you know, he's one of the most richest guy in the world.
Yeah, well, he's, and you could criticize BlackRock for a lot of, you can criticize BlackRock for a lot of things, maybe even the amount of money that Larry Fink is paid for the job that he does, but you can do that with, pretty much any big company like that.
Trump uses Fink to do his taxes.
He doesn't use them to do his taxes, but Fink is one of many, many people who are in the financial world who have advised Trump. They also advised the Biden administration.
He's going to work for Trump too if Trump gets elected.
Possibly, and he's in there advising the Biden administration too. Not so much Fink himself, but there are other people connected to BlackRock who advise the Biden administration on the economy. And I'll tell you this, like, who else would you want in there advising you on economic and geopolitical financial issues? I'd want somebody smart who knows how the systems work.
Oh yeah, he's going to rig the system for the billionaire.
Oh, for crying out loud! Well, look.
He taught Trump all the tricks he knows.
Look,
hey,
I can, if you'd prefer.
Let's stop arguing.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm just saying, if you prefer, I can go down to the homeless encampment here and get somebody there to advise our government on how to run the economy, if you'd like. Would you be more comfortable with that?
No. But
me either. We better have some smart people doing things.
A billionaire in there either. So for sure it's going to get rigged. Trump
I'm not so sure about that, because the truth of the matter is they don't have ultimate control, even those guys working within the administration. Plus, it's in their best interest. And the guys actually closest don't actually work for BlackRock anymore. They used to. I think there are 3 of them right now. Deese, I think is the one guy's name. Anyway, they don't actually work for BlackRock now. They work in the administration. So that's where they're getting their paycheck currently. But more than that, it's not in the best interests of these companies to simply rig the system so that they get rich. It's in their best interest to make sure that the financial system remains stable so that they don't go bust along with everybody else. And I'll tell you this, Larry Fink has actually come up with some very creative innovative financial ideas and tools and products to help facilitate the ongoing stability of the capitalist system.
Like going digital currency.
Well,
he wants that.
In fact, yes. Yes, and here's why that's important. And here's why I think that's important, and you won't even hear this from other economists at this point. This is
digital, Rick. Don't you want to go digital?
We've been digital for a long time. You just don't realize it. The money was John. The money has been digital for a long time. You just don't realize it. The reality is very little money is actually tangible cash. I don't want tangible cash to disappear. That provides people with a degree of anonymity. But the bulk of money right now is just digital numbers that float around anyway. And
Trump wants to go digital. He wants to burn all the money, get rid of it all.
No, he doesn't want to get rid of all the money.
Anyways, Different topic. Trump goes to the bank and he goes, I need a $50,000 loan. What for? I'm taking the family to on a holiday.
And hang on a second. Choosy's commenting. Choosy, no, it's not accurate. BlackRock, again, says BlackRock real estate is kind of scary, Rick. They are buying up lots of real estate like vultures. No. BlackRock does not buy, and I know because I've looked this stuff up. I haven't looked up the stats. I don't have them off the top of my head, but I've looked them up. BlackRock does not buy real estate direct and does not manage it. BlackRock does hold some real estate investments as part of portfolios, but they do not manage real estate. They do not control it, nor do they control so much of it that they manipulate the market in that way. They don't own enough of it to do that. They own a broad spectrum of real estate investments. And then the shareholders, the investors who have those financial products being managed by BlackRock, those individuals, they have voting rights within other companies that they own assets in. Do you see? So it's not actually BlackRock, but it's just not true. It's a simplified, dumbed down trope that's being perpetuated and distributed in order to demonize capitalism, because BlackRock has become a metaphor for Western capitalism, and they hate it. The other thing is, John, this is all about Islam, and it's about Sharia law, and it's because those countries have their religion actually forbids interest, and BlackRock as an BlackRock, everything about the investments in BlackRock is all about interest. Everything being made through those investments is, well, then you better stop backing up your Hamas buddies there on the university when they're tearing up the sod, because that's what they back.
They're all white people there. They're all scholars and they're the future lawyers. And
the people tearing up the sod. Yeah, it's largely true. They're all the indoctrinated far leftists slash communo-fascists, because
that's one of the best universities
they're coming around on the other side. The two ideologies are meeting. Sorry, I meant
a bunch of dummies that go to that school.
Yeah, actually. Just because you go to school doesn't mean you're smart.
You got UFT. You think they're all dummies that go to that school? Come on, dummy. Get off the lawn.
Yeah. And Choosy, you're right. Choosy's right about these. But again, we're not solely focused on BlackRock. It's just one cog in the wheel. That's absolutely true. I agree with that. There's a much larger picture. There are a lot of companies, and it depends on how, how the whole system plays out. But I would just argue that the Western system of the Western economic system is not the evil thing that people make it out to be. It's just that you have, a very determined group of people on the other side who are anti-capitalist, anti-imperialist, anti-American. They want to tear it down. But the reality has always been, even with China,
they want something for free. That's those kind of people.
Yeah, well, that's right. They do. They do. But they want to be taken care of. They think that they believe the lie that government is ultimately going to care for everyone and make sure that everyone has ample enough of everything. And so we need to get rid of the evil capitalists because they're just greedy, and the government will make sure that all that wealth will be redistributed fairly.
You're right. Sonic Teacher, you're right. They're corrupt as a $3 bill. They push these on people because they're getting rich off it. They don't care. They're the ones who start closing down businesses, and they do it.
Who does?
Masking and everything. BlackRock and those yahoos, because they're getting rich off it. It's all money for them. Oh, yeah. You're right, Sonic Teacher. He's right, 100%. I can see that. He's right. He's right. They push this stuff on you because they're getting rich. They own all the pharmaceuticals, BlackRock.
No, they don't.
The more money pharmaceutical makes, the more money BlackRock.
BlackRock doesn't own all the pharmaceuticals, but I know that they own a share in a lot of these companies.
Anyhow,
well,
they're corrupt.
Okay, man, did you get what I was saying at all, John?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. They're more of a financial, but they're making money. Okay.
Well, so what? That's the point.
You don't make $15 trillion for just being a nice guy. You're not going to go into Ukraine and say,
the point. Let me ask. Just hang on.
They got lots of money.
John, do you have investments, right?
Yeah, but
I mean, what kind of investments do you have? You got obviously some RSPs. You've got some mutual funds. You've got what?
GICs right now. I got a lot of GICs. Good dividend and interest. And I got some in the stock market.
Stocks, yeah.
Up and down, and
I can almost guarantee that some portion of your portfolio is tied to BlackRock.
Well,
they are that diversified. So if
BlackRock, yes.
if you because they are so diversified. So if you wanted somebody to blame for all of the evil things that BlackRock does, all you got to do is go. All you got to do, John. All you got to do to find the evildoer is just go take a look in the mirror, because it's you.
Bankers don't care about you, Rick.
It's not the point, John. The point is it ain't the bankers, it's you.
Well, that's right. They don't
and
take
me.
my money.
It's you, it's me, it's my next door neighbor, it's the teacher with the pension fund, it's the auto worker who's also got, investments for his retirement. It's in your home. It's all over the place. If you've got money over at the CIBC, they're owned in part by BlackRock. They probably own about 3% of CIBC or something.
Actually, I do have a CIBC account.
So then you're an evil capitalist, and you're funding the war in Gaza.
Is that what they do?
Apparently.
I was thinking of taking it out this year, but we'll see.
because you're connected to BlackRock in probably a variety of ways that you might not even be aware of, and they fund the military-industrial complex. So defund now, divest, my friend, or suffer the sin. Well, that's what's really going on, and that's why even in UNDRIP they make reference to demilitarizing. This is a whole other subject matter, but. This is why they want divestment. This is why they want defund everything.
We're in big trouble right now. I know.
Yeah, well, sorta, maybe, kinda. But here's the other thing about being in trouble, and I've been thinking a lot about this too. Yeah, we're what, $30-some trillion in debt on the U.S. side, right?
36.
Yeah, 36 trillion. Okay, kinda. Here's the thing. I'm getting to the point where I'm sort of like, so what? You know why? Because if you go back to the stock market crash like the 1920s, the U.S. economy at that time, in 29, was about the U.S. economy. And everything was on a scale of the U.S. economy in like 29. But today, the U.S. economy ain't just the U.S. economy. It's the world. That's $37 trillion, 36 trillion, but that's world. Now, part of the problem is that debt has largely been exported to other countries, so it's kind of coming due. But you're not predicating the economic might of the United States just on the U.S. anymore. Not like it was in 29. Now it's about global economic output, and as it relates to the U.S. dollar as the world reserve currency, it's on a much larger scale. And so in terms of real dollars, dollar for dollar based on inflation, and then total output potential of economic capacity, I don't think that it's not as bad as people think, except you do need to bring a lot of manufacturing back to the U.S. in order to facilitate more economic growth domestically in the U.S. and shield the base, the foundation for that world economy in the U.S. from competition coming from places like China, which is really also being funded, just in case you haven't noticed, through capitalistic debt. They have a lot of debt over there too, and it's growing on the Chinese side. They've got other problems with their issue, their side too. It looks sometimes like they dominate because they dump so many public resources into particular industries in order to dominate, like electric vehicles, where if it wasn't for all the government funding and subsidization over there, they wouldn't be able to produce them at half the price that we have over here, which is why it's kind of unfair trade practice and why we need to slap 100 and 200% tariffs on those vehicles in order to protect the workers here. But the problem, I can get into all of this another day. This is sort of a sidebar issue. But the point is, this is why this is a geopolitical, worldwide communo-fascistic revolution, man. And they want to tear down the West. And they could do that by doing what they've done. Undermine the U.S. currency because they've detached it from petroleum. So it's no longer just the petrodollar, right? So we got big problems in the Middle East over there. And through destabilizing of governments, which we're seeing through these massive protests in Israel, massive protests over here, massive protests in the UK. You think all that's happening by accident? No, it's not. It's being fueled, facilitated by adversarial foreign countries and governments. And you know who they're using for their foot soldiers? You, my friend. It's you. And other people who are also going out there, bad-mouthing the U.S., bad-mouthing the capitalist system, bad-mouthing everything about your country, losing confidence in it, saying that, it's all corrupt and we got to tear it all down, and people getting out in the streets and causing problems, getting in the faces of cops and tearing up the sod, causing all kinds of problems. And people think they're saving their country by going out causing a ruckus. Well, they ain't. They're not. They're just causing a ruckus, causing a problem, and undermining their own self-interest. Undermining their own country, trying to destroy the very thing that has provided stability and affluence for everyone. In the complaining about the government, thinking that the government has created all the problems, trying to get rid of the government and thinking that the solution to the problems with the government is to have more government because they're being lied to by people who are deceiving them, saying they're offering them freedom, when in reality, they're offering them slavery under communism or a communo-fascistic economic system. An Islamo-fascistic economic system in some cases, where interest is demonized and the capitalist system has got to go. That's why it's not even, pure communism. It's this new Islamo-fascistic economic system.
You don't see what's happening. That's the problem. You talk about
John, I just explained it all to you. But just like my comments about the rhetoric with J.D. Vance, some people can't comprehend what I'm saying because what I'm saying is just going over people's heads. I'm not the one asleep. Everybody else has one eye still closed. You're only half awake, and you're only seeing the half of the story that's coming from the people who want to use you as a pawn to tear down the society that supports you and provides the affluence and everything good that you have.
Down.
You.
No.
Yeah.
No, the government and its wars.
No.
Do you understand the U.S. government? They're going to be number 2 soon. They don't want to be number 2.
Oh, I'll tell you this, John. If these people are successful, I'll put it to you in a more blunt term. If we are successful in destroying ourselves, which is actually what they've got us doing, if we're successful, we ain't going to be number 2. We're going to be impoverished.
We're way below that. Canada is way below that.
And the United States as well. The United States will be destroyed. It will destroy the Western world. That's what's at stake. That's what's going on right now.
Yeah, they want to stay number 1, and it's not working out that way for them.
Because
this BRICS is going to take over.
Don't be so sure, my friend.
Okay.
It ain't over yet.
Well,
and I'll tell you this, if you value your country, if you value true freedom, you'll support your country. You'll support your economic system.
I do support my country, yes.
Yes, well, then support it.
I am, but how can you support it when you got a bunch of dingbats in there ruining it for us?
Well, I have some answers for people. I actually do have a path forward. I can provide those ideas, very concrete ideas, in ways that we can use the system to restore stability and affluence.
That's a good idea.
That's what we need to do. And I will share those with you, not tonight, because we are running out of time, my friend.
All right.
But I've got some very, very concrete ideas, and everybody's missing the point, including our leading politicians.
Yes, I agree. And if I'm correct, if history repeats itself, we're going to be in big trouble by Christmas. I'm telling you right now.
It's entirely possible. Yes, it is possible.
That's when all the wars
That's why.
start. That's when they get.
But let me say. But I'll tell you this, John. The solution
I don't know what it is about that, but that's the target.
But the solution is already in front of us. We already have the solution to all of this in hand, but the solution starts with each of us as individuals, and that includes you. And that means that we all need to start thinking about how we can, let me put it to you this way. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. And I will tell you what you can do for your country maybe tomorrow night. Okay?
Yesterday morning, I went to the store to buy something at 8 o'clock in the morning. I found on my windshield of my car on the driveway is like a half-size baggie with this pink thing in it.
Mm-hmm.
It reads, "Hello, I am very interested in buying this vehicle. Please give me a call or text me anytime and if you want to sell your vehicle. Thank you, Raja," and his phone number.
He wants to buy your car?
He wants to buy my car.
What kind of car do you have?
It's a Toyota Corolla Sports with, it's only got 75,000 kilometers on it, Rick.
Well, I
I
want to buy it. Those are great cars. I wish I could afford it.
So I found this on my windshield on my driveway. I go, people want to see me buying a car. They just go around and look for,
Oh, you know what? He's probably a dealer.
You think so?
Yeah, you know why? My son, he works at a car dealership and he buys cars. And especially since the supply chain issues, the dealerships have become much more aggressive about purchasing used vehicles. So they go searching for them. They scan all the want ads. They'll drive. They even go through neighborhoods as they're driving. If they see something, they'll offer to buy it from people. Yeah.
My friend, I had lunch with him a couple days ago.
Mm-hmm.
And he drives a brand new Acura SRV, brand new thing, eh?
Yeah.
And I said, "Man, why would you buy this car? It's a hot item. You'll probably get it stolen right off your driveway." He says, "Look at the windshields. All the windshields in the glass was engravement, and I looked at it. Very hard to see, but it's engraved. And what that does is, if it gets stolen, they can track. The insurance company could track that car." He goes, "The insurance company made him put it on there to save him money on the insurance.
Mm-hmm.
But then they track you everywhere you go.
Yeah.
They know where you are, everything about you."
Yeah.
And I said, "I wouldn't do that." I said, "You should buy a car like mine. Then they won't steal it. They don't want my car. They want your car."
Well, do you know who started that? Do you know who really wanted that technology implanted in cars?
Who's that?
Wives.
Why is that? Oh,
So
they track their husbands.
They can track their husbands. They know where they are.
They know where they are. Oh, shit.
Just saying.
Yeah, well, it's a good idea, like, Anyhow,
John, this has been a great conversation. And you and I together, we're going to save the world. We're going to bring
Rick,
peace.
I'm not running you down. I'm not,
I know.
if I'm not angry at you.
I'm not angry at you either. I love you, man.
I
love you.
I like to have good conversations, but, I just see a change in you that from Russia to Ukraine.
Yeah, well.
And a lot of people in the chat see it too.
Well, that's because circumstances change, things evolve, and if I see things that are not truthful, I call it out. So when I see people lying, or if I see people ignoring things, I still present the information and I give other people a voice. Well, Mike is welcome here and he can have a voice. And
I got nothing against Mike.
yeah,
okay?
and I can't help it if people don't like it.
He's not going to get me to go to Ukraine. That's one thing for sure.
And I can't help it if people don't like it when a Ukrainian drone blows up an oil refinery in Moscow. But it happened, so I'm showing it. And if there's I'm telling you what's going on.
You know what's going to happen now?
What's that?
They're going to get it three, 4 times worse.
They already got it overnight. Russia hit Ukraine hard too.
I know.
That's what I said. They're in an exchange right now, man.
Call a damn election and just say, hey, people, we all want you to vote. Have an independent people monitoring the election.
How
make it honest and fair?
How would an election?
Let the people decide. Why does the government have to decide?
John, how is an election going to bring an end to the war?
Well, if the people give them a choice, either you want to join Russia, or you go with NATO or Ukraine.
They did.
Boom.
That's why Putin invaded.
No, I don't remember that.
I know you don't because you don't know the history, and I told you. I told you the history.
I know Putin did an election, and the states goes, no, it was rigged. It's rigged. We don't accept that election.
This goes back to
wanted to stay with Russia.
This goes back to 2014 and even before. They did. This was all about Ukraine joining the European Union.
Do an election and get the people what they want. Forget about what U.S. wants.
It's not, John.
That's all I got.
The United States didn't invade anybody. Who?
Of course not.
Who invaded Ukraine?
NATO.
No.
Yes,
No, they didn't.
They want to break up Russia.
Who invaded Ukraine?
The Americans did.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, they did.
No.
They're instigators.
Oh, for crying out loud. No, they didn't. The United States didn't invade. The United States invaded. The United States invaded Ukraine.
You go on and on. Vietnam, Japan. You know the two biggest countries that U.S. borrows money. China.
We're not going to get to peace if you don't deal with facts.
Yeah.
Who invaded Ukraine? Russia invaded Ukraine. Where are the Russian tanks right now?
Because Ukraine wanted to join NATO.
Ukraine has been, but did they? No.
You can join us. Don't worry, we'll back
there was.
you up.
I just went through all of this with you, man. God. I understand that argument, but that's.
You're wrong.
I'm wrong.
Election on our chats. We can have an election on our.
You can have an election. It ain't going to stop the war.
Election, we can solve it on the chat. Most people will agree.
What happens? What if they have an election and Zelensky is reelected?
Well.
Then what?
Then he gets to be whatever.
What?
Then Russia has to accept that. How's that?
Well, Russia didn't accept that, and they came in with military force. So that's what they did.
No, because
Russia
went the first time Russia went in, it was because Ukraine wanted to join NATO.
That's the simplistic narrative that I just talked to
you.
you.
I'll take that information up for you again and send it
I know what the information is. I know the story.
Okay, well, you know the story. Good.
I do. But
Okay,
it's
so,
that. But
am I
even
wrong?
even
Am I
if
wrong? Am I wrong?
it's not a proper assessment, because did Ukraine? It doesn't even. First of all, it doesn't matter if
Ukraine
it.
wanted to join NATO.
So
Russia said, "Not on my dead body."
yeah. So what justifies?
And they went in there.
So what is that justified?
Because and Putin went opted to go to the table.
So who is it that's trying to? So is that democracy?
Ukraine wanted to join NATO.
So what?
They're not. There was a verbal agreement not to join ever.
No, there was there was also okay. That's just a verbal assurance from at the time when the Berlin Wall came down from Reagan, that they wouldn't move NATO any closer to Russia. But that's not a treaty. That's not anything signed. That was something verbal. But there was something else that was signed called the Budapest Memorandum that Russia and the United States both signed, and the United States honored it, and Russia didn't. And that memorandum, which is signed, said that neither country both countries would respect the borders of Ukraine after the fall of the Soviet Union. And Russia agreed to it, so that Russia agreed to that. And in exchange, Ukraine gave up the nuclear weapons that were on its soil from the Soviet era. But Russia has not respected that. They didn't respect the Budapest Memorandum. They said when they decided to invade that they just didn't think it was valid anymore, so they just went in. They just ignored it. And they tried to have negotiations on that, and Lavrov refused to show up.
This war should have never had.
Yeah, I agree that it never should have started. And I also agree that they shouldn't really have been, talking about bringing NATO into the picture. But regardless, they had every legal right, every lawful right, even under international law, to explore that if they wanted to as a sovereign nation state. And that does not, and there was never any formal agreement between Ukraine and Russia that Ukraine wouldn't join NATO. They never agreed to it. So they had every right to explore that, and they still are exploring it. It does not justify an invasion by any country into any other country because they want to join an economic union or even a military organization like NATO.
From what I recall, Putin had no problem with them joining European Union.
Yeah, he did.
No, he didn't.
Well, you can sit there, John, and say, I can say, yes, they did, and you can say, no, he didn't. But you go look it up, because I have. And then look at the circumstances that surrounded all that, and that's what led to the Euromaidan uprising and the Maidan massacre. And who shot the protesters?
Okay.
It wasn't the Americans shooting the protesters. People died there, John. That goes back to everything I just talked about. And I know that, some people say, well, that was a U.S. CIA coup. Well, you can look at it that way if you want to. The U.S. certainly had influence in there, but it still doesn't justify another country coming in and invading.
Look at the U.S. history, and that will explain everything.
I know my U.S. history.
They're the ones who start that.
The warmongers.
And why? Why? Because they're in there to grab something, okay?
What I just told you. Why? What?
Now the BRIC nation, it's not going to work well for the U.S. because U.S. don't want the BRICS.
Yeah, the BRICS. Yeah, I know it's a threat. I totally get it. It is a serious threat.
Are gonna bust the BRICS. The only way they're going to bust the BRICS up is take out Russia and China. and if you look at Russia, China, and England, India, all of the BRIC nation, they outnumber them. population-wise. Like, there's just
Outnumber who?
The NATO and America.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the population in China,
Yeah.
India, and Russia, just those three countries, never mind the rest of them, they outnumber like 10 to 1
Oh, well.
population. If there was ever a world war, we're sitting ducks.
I wouldn't be as...
For what? These
Well,
airheads and
I mean, I don't even...
government that
I
can't take...
I find the exploration of that scenario frightening, and I don't even really want to have to think about it if I don't have to. But that being said, population will not be the ultimate determining factor in any third world war. Technology will be.
I don't think there's going to be an election in the States, to be honest. By November, December, there's going to be big out war. And it's going to be just like Ukraine. You can't have an election there, right?
I hope you're wrong, but I do see that.
I hope I'm wrong too.
I hope I see the instability there, and I see the possibility of.
I remember from Vietnam, all these wars. It's always at Christmas time. I said, "Here we go again." Growing up, Christmas time. Oh, here we go again. Wartime. It's always around Christmas.
Well,
wartime.
Well, how about this? I mean, come back tomorrow, and we'll continue this, and I'll present my ideas on how we can avoid that.
Well, that'd be a good idea, but who's going to listen to you?
You, and then you'll ignore me. Then you'll ignore me. You'll listen to me and ignore me.
You gotta get people who, like, I know you hate Ritter so much, but
I don't hate Scott Ritter. I don't. I like Scott Ritter. He's been on the program. I like him. He's just been not.
I like him because he would like to see an end to these wars.
No, he doesn't. That's why I've got an issue. He says these things, but his actions don't support that. And here's the problem I've got with Scott Ritter. Everything that he says has no credibility anymore. Because
I haven't listened to him for.
Yeah, why bother? Why bother? It's just it's the same stuff. It's Russia's going to win. Ukraine doesn't stand a chance. Israel is doomed. The end. It's just constant. It's not accurate. It's not a truthful assessment. It's I mean, I won't make any accusations beyond that, but it's not worth anything. It's worthless because it's completely biased. It's a narrative. It's not anything even close to the truth. Not even close. So why bother wasting my time listening to it? I will give him this. Some of the stats that he might present might maybe be somewhere in the realm of reality when he's talking about particular military tactics and things because he has a military background. So there might be some esoteric validity to it. But beyond that, his assessments are of zero value because I can't believe anything he says anymore. And that's extremely unfortunate because he is knowledgeable, but he's got an agenda.
Well, I think he's knowledgeable about Ukraine versus Russia.
If he's so knowledgeable, why is the war not over?
Ukraine don't stand a chance against Russia.
That's what they said. That's what they said 2.5 years ago, John.
Look at the population of Russia.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
They're all done.
Doesn't matter.
Most of them have left.
Doesn't matter.
And the other half is all.
That's what you would be. That's what they want you to think, and that's what they want you to believe.
All they got is mercenaries now.
Well, that's what he's saying, and that's what some of the other pundits who also, I would say, have no credibility left anymore are saying, and that's why I don't bother asking them back on this program, because there is zero real value. Now, I could bring them on, and I could generate tens of thousands of clicks, but I would not be doing my job because I would not be properly serving you and the public, and that's my job. I work for the public, nobody else. Just the public, and
I like to see
that's
Ritter, that Mike guy together on your show.
Sure.
That's what I like to see.
Bring it on.
Yeah.
And I don't have any. I like Scott Ritter. I do.
Maybe throw Kevin in there too, just for Kevin's a nice.
Well,
Kevin's a real nice guy. That guy,
he is. Kevin's a great guy. And he has a voice here. He presents his side, which is different than Mike's.
He's a nice guy. He's not out to defend anybody. You know, he just tells it.
He's got his bias too. Like, you know, everybody brings this particular worldview, right? But then sometimes it just gets a little out of hand, and that's where I'm at with some of these guys who I just haven't bothered having back on for a long time, because I see that it's just not valid anymore. There's no credibility in sitting there cheerleading.
Douglas McGregor, someone says, get him on the show.
Yeah, bring him on, because he's in the same boat as far as I'm concerned. He's just full of hot air. If he's so damn right, why are they so damn well fighting still? Because what I'll do, you know, it's just not true. It's just not that all of the stuff that McGregor has been saying is not true. I challenge Colonel McGregor to come on this program and talk to me, because I'd like him to set, we should have it out, because I just don't buy it anymore. I believed him for a while because he's got such a storied and illustrious background and history in the military, but that only goes so far, man. You can only ride on your reputation for so long. Just like a journalist, you're only as good as your last story. And all the stories he's been telling for 2.5 years have turned out to have just fallen flat. And it ain't true. So again, zero credibility, but bring him on and I'll talk to him, because I just don't buy it anymore. Respectfully, it's just not true. He's become a mouthpiece of some kind for someone, somewhere, and it ain't true. Period. And he's not doing anybody a good service. Not even, even if he was working for Putin, he wouldn't be doing him a service. He's not doing anyone a good service, because it's a lie, or it's not true, or whatever it is that he's spouting, it's not accurate. Zero value. Zero. Unless, of course, the value is not about truth. It's about getting people upset or emotional or to destabilize something. But okay, there's a different objective there. You can tell a story, but there's a difference between telling a good yarn and being a journalist and telling the truth, or at least trying to get to the truth.
These guys know a lot.
They're not journalists. Bring them to me. Bring them. I dare them. I dare them. Dare them. Either one. Bring it. Won't go well. Not around here. I dare them, John. You watch all those shows. You go in the chat. You spread the word. You tell them, bring me Colonel McGregor. Bring him here. Bring him, and we'll have the conversation. Anytime.
Yeah. I don't know if he's done any
right here.
shows.
This layman, this little, no good, teeny tiny guy who gets attacked all the time because I make people's heads blow up, bring him to me. I'm nobody.
Who's this?
Me. I'm nobody.
What little guy are you talking about?
Me. I'm the little guy. Okay?
Oh,
I'm the little guy. I'm nobody, apparently. Right? I'm a nobody. Bring me Colonel McGregor. Bring me the big fish. And let's see what happens. You're listening, Colonel McGregor? Come on. I invited him on this program 2 years ago. And it looked like maybe he was going to come on. But there was some weird stuff going on with the communication back and forth. It was really kind of weird. And then he didn't ultimately come on. But I know that there are channels, from me back to there. He'll see this. Come on. Because I'm a journalist. And that's a real journalist. That's what I do. That's what I'm here for. And I serve the public, period.
Well, I like to see that happen there, Rick.
Well, maybe it will, because now the challenge is out there. Respectfully, it'll be a respectful conversation. Bring me the big fish. Bring him on.
Respectful guy.
Bring him on. Bring him on. Hell, man, I've defended Scott Ritter in the past. And that's on the record, too, because I felt that he should have a voice. But if you're going to spout stuff that's just not true, after a while, it's like, well, why the hell would I have that back on?
Well, when I watch Ritter on YouTube, I read the comments. I never see one bad comment.
Yeah, because he tells people what they want to hear, because he spins a narrative, because he cheerleads and people are picking sides. People don't do that here. I make people's heads blow up because I just, 1 minute I'm talking about what Ukraine has done, then I talk about what Russia has done. 1 minute I've got one guy on who supports Ukraine, the next minute I've got somebody on who's talking about Russia. And then everybody gets upset because, what are you talking to that guy for? Or I make a generic comment about J.D. Vance that somebody takes completely out of context because they don't understand the true definition of the word rhetoric, and then they attack me. Because why? I'm not just sitting here selling you a war. But they are. That's why. And I'm not just sitting here trying to generate clicks or make money. That's not what I'm doing here. That's not what this platform is about. Never will be. I've never been about that. And I never, ever, 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 ever will be. And I don't care who offers me money. I don't care, what side you want me to join. I don't care who threatens me. That's not what I do. My integrity is everything. That's what's valuable to me, period. And that's what I stand for, integrity. Because without that, as a journalist, you've got nothing. Nothing. Bring me the big fish. I'll put my integrity up against his narrative any day. Bring it. John, let's continue this tomorrow night, my friend, and I will offer you up some suggestions, some ideas on ways that we can restore stability, prosperity, and peace. Sound fair?
Maybe one of those guys will be listening. And
maybe they will, respectfully.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. And I love you, man.
I already know we're talking about them right now.
I'm sure they're probably watching right now, and that's good.
They'll probably watch the rerun.
Them, the CIA, the FSB.
Tuned in, you'll see 3 more extra hits on here. You don't know who
RCMP.
There you go.
Meta, Google, everybody's watching me now. They're like, who is this guy? What's he all about?
We gotta resolve this. These people, I don't think they want to resolve it. This is the problem. That's what I say. Anyway.
It's a competition. Yeah.
It's the United States want to be top dog.
So does the other side, John. That's the problem.
Okay, and they don't want to be. They don't want to look weak, and they don't want Russia or whatever they're called, BRICS, to take over and be number one.
Well, anyway, let's we'll continue the conversation.
All right,
around
have a good evening. Nice talking to you.
Yeah, love you, man. Okay.
Bye now.
See ya. Bye. There you go. It's late. Enough news for today. See you tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. On the flip side.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.